Is my mic on now? Uh-oh. Testing mic test 1, 2, 3, 4. Help me out, chat. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, so let's start over. Um, there we go. Season 7. Now I can't even talk. Season 7, episode 3. Um, let's talk about the Isles. I can't even type right. Look at what I did there. Oh my God. I can't even do this. Good Lord. This is just god awful on my part tonight. Long story short, I had to work today. Didn't really have a lot of time. There we go. Man. No doubt. No doubt. Bad timing here. So, all right. Um again, as I was trying to say before, I was rudely muted by myself. Um I love the conversations that we have. And this is certainly going to be one of those seasons, like it or not, where the conversations we're going to have a lot of them this year. And um one of the things I wanted to do tonight was to do a show of like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about whoever you want to talk about, whatever you want to talk about. Um, you know, good, bad, ugly. What have we seen through the first 9 games here, so on and so forth. But if there's something that you want to discuss, I want you to type into in the chat room. I want you to start off with the words, let's talk about, and then the subject. So to start things off, you guys know me. For those of you who have been following me, thank you still. And for those of you who are new, welcome. Let's talk about the first 10 games. Now, the Islanders have not played. The Islanders have not played their first 10 games yet. I understand that. But, and Gary and a lot of everyone else basically considers the first 20 games or the American Thanksgiving to be a good projection of what every team is going to look like moving forward. I've always had fun with the first 10 games. Okay. Is there a way to eliminate teams after the first 10 games? And generally there is, believe it or not. And here's a little fun fact here. From the last 10 years, any team in the Eastern Conference with 8 points or less have missed the playoffs. 8 points or less, they've missed the playoffs. As of this conversation, and yes, the Metro have not finished completing their 10 games yet, but they don't have to. Most of them already have 9, including the Islanders. There's only 2 teams right now, boys and girls, who, when they finished up with 10 points, when they finished up with 10 games, they only had 8 points. Those were the Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers. Ta-da! So, if you're outside of Boston, are you really shocked by this? No, not really. If you talk to a few Ranger fans, they're not shocked by this either. But again, a lot of people were expecting the Rangers to be better. Okay. Having said that, I am very, very thankful that I did not do a season preview this year for you guys. I usually take great pride in that, and I would love to see how how everything would come about this year. But there was just so many question marks, and it was just I knew this was not going to be a good time to do a season preview. And after looking at the first 10 games right now, I'm so glad I didn't do that for you guys. If you had Pittsburgh, if you had the Pittsburgh Penguins finishing last in the Metro or seventh, not a good look for you. Not a good look. The Devils are doing outstanding. Montreal's in first. You had Detroit in second place right now. You're lying. Although I love seeing Detroit where it is right now. So for now, the first 10 games, only the Bruins and the Rangers are going to finish with 8 points or less. The Islanders have survived their first 10 games, even if they lose to Carolina tomorrow. Okay? But let's dive a little deeper now with your Let's Talk About. Let's talk about how Yzerman is doing. Okay. Again, I was at work pretty much all day. It is to my understanding that he is to be back in a week. I don't know if that's confirmed. I don't know if you guys um have heard anything, but I've been told it's not that bad. The emeritus has returned, ladies.
Yeah, and we got a
There
microphone.
he is.
We got a microphone that works. I had to switch computers. I don't know what's
Fair
wrong
enough.
with mine, but
Okay.
greetings from the great room.
Okay. So listen, Gary, this topic this week was called "Let's Talk About."
Yeah, I actually
Dot, dot,
heard
dot.
Claire had her phone on, before you came on, so I did hear.
Okay, and I know you love the first 20 games, and I love to poke fun at the first 10. And the Rangers are one of those teams that have 8 points or less. So if you're an Islander fan, there's a 6% chance right now that the Rangers may or may not make the playoffs. But I will say this. This is probably the first time since like 2017, 2018 that I've seen the Eastern Conference this balanced. So, in going forward, even with not doing a season preview this year, I'm not even I don't count the Rangers out. I don't even count the Boston Bruins out. That's how balanced and how much depth this Eastern Conference really has from top to bottom.
You think
Um,
about having those teams in the Western Conference, and they could be serious playoff teams the way they're playing. It's just, yeah, you're right. That's even again, 10 games isn't the biggest litmus test for me, but
correct.
you can see a lot of parity. There are some teams that have games that are in the pooper, aka what Boston had 2 nights ago in Ottawa.
Right.
And then have a complete 180-degree turnaround and have a great game. Oh, nice job, Paul.
Right.
It's
gonna be one of those nights, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, but anyhow, I wrote flip flop on mine because I was originally going to write flip flop like a politician, but I don't talk politics, and that's my style. So, but yeah, I mean, there's some nights where they're amazing, and some nights where they just are completely, I don't want to say inept, but
Right.
there's some bad signs.
Okay. So before we get into the chat room here, what would you like to talk about tonight, Gary?
What would I like to talk about? Well, I know Brian mentioned it, and I'm just, obviously being now for the last 25 years a resident of the Huntington area. It is very nice to see a kid, that lives near where I live, playing in the league. And Marshall's worked incredibly hard 4 years at BC. Obviously, he was the captain in Jerry York's last year. We all know the story. Growing up practicing at Iceworks and all that stuff, and it's with Matthew Schaefer's story being what it is, it's great to have a secondary story. And I know Brian mentioned about whether he could possibly take Boquist's job, and you'd like to not taking anything away from Boquist, because he is a nice 6 or 7 defenseman, but this team needs to be infused with youth. And I really like the fact that that Warren's taken the step and come up. We all know the story about Bridgeport, that they're playing better. It's a better team. There's a much stable environment there. And things are going to happen the right way. As far as the team goes, would we want better than 4-4-1? Of course we would, but truthfully, that's where I expected us to be. I expected us at 10 games to have 11 points, and we obviously could do that, be above that tomorrow, or be at that number tomorrow if they pull an upset and beat Carolina, who's been starting like a house on fire. But I'm not displeased. We both didn't do predictions, but deep down we talked, and I didn't feel that this team was going to be a playoff team this year, but I think next year is going to be better. But that's my initial thought. But I think the team is playing just where I expected them to be. No better, no worse.
Beautiful. All right, Charles. You're getting your one in there, even though you said thank God Gary's here. I know he's here to save the show after what I've been doing so far. Let's talk about the Schaefer stay with the big club. Gary and I will always have this agree to disagree moment, but
yes, we will. But that's okay.
But yeah, no, that's okay. No, then that's what we love about this show. I had said this in the beginning. Are the Islanders 6-3 through Matthew Schaefer's 9 games? No. Should they send him back off of that? Yes. Now, having said that, can the Islanders send him back? No. No. For many, many reasons, they can't send him back. Number one, he's earned it. He's put up the points. Number two, he's helping out Matthew Barzal. Number three, he's helping out Patrick Roy's system. Number four, he's selling the jerseys.
Amen.
He's selling the jerseys. The Islanders cannot send him back.
No, and technically, according to the rules, the minute he steps on the ice tomorrow, kicks in.
Bingo.
It's after 9 games. So once the 10th game hits, he's here. And,
right.
The way Matthew Darsh said it at the season ticket holder Chalk Talk, he earned his spot. Not because of where he is, or where he came from and where his pick was, but the player earned the spot.
Right.
And that's why I like about Marshall Warren too. Player of the week the first week in the AHL. He had a tremendous camp. He has worked his tail off to get here. We all know the great story of Isaiah George last year coming out and helping for about 25 games, and he's still playing well in Bridgeport, but Marshall Warren has just taken his game to a completely higher level. And, I think he's deserved it. Do they make changes? Do they let Adam Boquist go? Of course that's in the realm of possibility, but they've earned their stripes. if you will. So,
Sure.
I'm pleased with it.
All right, Charles, we'll let you in on one more here. Let's talk. It should be about. Let's talk about. Do we trade for an enforcer? Uh John Tavares did have Zenon Konopka. Matthew Barzell did have the identity line. I'm, and I understand where everyone has that need for the enforcer. I kind of said it myself, but you know, sorry guys, to a degree, Matthew Schaefer's doing this on his own. I don't want to say he's taunting the NHL, but
Mm.
he's trying to cement his place in the NHL. He's doing it on his own.
29 penalty minutes.
And yes, we've talked about the physicality, we've talked about the weight, we've talked about that, but this is Matthew Schaefer trying to tell everyone he wants to stay here and he'll do whatever it takes. And if that means ruffling a few feathers, yeah. I think Gary, and I would I like an enforcer? Sure, but would I go for someone like a Cal Clutterbuck, someone who can shoot, someone who can be a little bit more than just a Zenon Konopka? You know what I mean? I may actually go the other way with Patrick Roy's system in this case. I would. I can't believe I'm saying this too. I'll hear this later. I think the Islanders, instead of looking for an enforcer, I think they should be looking for like the Devontae's version for Matthew Schaefer.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in someone with more speed on his right side who can definitely take off some of that pressure, because now it's not just on Schaefer.
Right.
A lot of fans have said, Mayfield's a big guy, but he may not be that intimidating. He may be able to protect Matthew Schaefer, but
Well,
you know,
Claire actually just whispered in my ear while you were talking before that she says every time Schaefer's gotten into a situation, there was Kyle McLean right there.
good. That's fine. But if you were to put someone with Matthew Schaefer with a little more speed who can, I don't want to say do the same thing, but maybe have a little more
No, I
experience,
agree with
maybe a
you.
little more on
Yes.
that defensive side. Now you can't have
You know,
teams just go after Matthew Schaefer anymore.
Scotty Mayfield has been, and again, some people may think wrong. I look at it a little differently, but
But
I think he's been better than I thought he would be with both with Schaefer and with Warren the last two games. Yes. Does he make stupid dump ins? Yes. Does he? Is he still sometimes? Try to think of the right word. Predictable with what he's
okay,
going to do. Yeah,
okay,
but I think there's been a little more step to his giddy up.
right.
Because I call him the 2025 version of Brendan Witt, who was stone skates. Sometimes
Ah,
he is that way, but I think this year his skating has actually been a little better.
okay,
You know, um, so I 29 penalty minutes is not, it's not nothing to sneeze at these days. 29 minutes used to be nothing. Now it's, at this point, he's on pace for about 150.
right.
So, but yeah, I still think, although Mayfield's done a nice job for him, if we all as Islander fans felt really bad when Tays left here, because to
Sure.
me he was the perfect complement for that for Barry Trotz's system and for any
Right.
system, because he's a solid 200-foot defenseman.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, where can you get that guy? That's
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's just, yeah.
that's
You
pipe
know.
dream. That's unfortunately pipe dreaming, but
Right. Is there someone that we haven't heard of that could play a Devontae style? at
Yeah.
some point,
Yeah, that's
that would definitely alleviate some of that pressure off of Matthew Schaefer. May actually help out Matthew Schaefer because
mhm.
Schaefer's been helping everybody else out. I like to have
Yeah.
someone help Matthew Schaefer.
Yeah, I mean, last night I think, and again, most of the team didn't play, had issues. I think this was last game was Matthews. I put this at 9, on the list of top 9.
Okay,
This would hit number 9.
fair enough.
He had some rushes, he had some good things, but there were some mistakes, there were some problems. And again, I don't think it's, he's not being graded an F, okay, but it was definitely his least effective game of the 9. And he's going to have them. He's 18 years old.
Sure.
But
And there will be more of
again,
them this
but the,
season.
but the, the thing about the kid is, even when he has a rough patch, he's doing something or does something the next shift to make everybody forget about it.
Right.
And again, you can't teach that.
No.
That's an unteachable thing. That's personality, that's culture, that's the wherewithal. And that's what pleases me about him. But
Good segue into culture here, bud, because Robin wanted to talk about the character that is starting to bubble up with these new players. We got some players this year, a few beauties, and I agree with that. There's a lot of character moving in. There's a culture being developed. This is definitely not an overnight project, but I had said this on the last episode. They're still trying to find themselves, and if we bring in what Gary has been saying all season long, you're gonna find out what what this culture really is by like game 20, game 25, maybe even game 30, depending on how the rest of this league is going to pan out. But you know, Gary, give us your thoughts on the character on some of these younger players. I know you like Warren. We've talked about Schaefer. Who else would you like to talk about?
let's talk about Emil Heineman.
Ooh, go ahead.
That I saw a couple of games, on my NHL package last year with Emil Heineman, and the I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been Gary Galley, because I think they were playing Ottawa, and he was
Former
just
Islander player, by the way.
exactly former Islander. That's right. But Galley was boasting about him and said, he likes his style. He likes the fact that he's never out of the game. He's constantly getting involved. Look at the number. Lining up with Horvat has been, a very smart move by Patrick Waugh. They seem to have instant chemistry going, and that's if things go the way they go. The trade for Dobson was a complete total steal. If the other two kids do 10% of what we expect, then the trade is still a win. But yeah, I really enjoy watching Emil Heineman, and I like his back checking just as much as his scoring ability.
Right.
Because he's really been excelling in all 3 zones. And I just, I like those tough nosed guys, but he's got a snipe. And I'll bet that Montreal management's kicking himself in the teeth for letting him go.
Maybe.
23 years old. They
Maybe.
let Romanov go, and now they let him go. So, they got Caulfield and Suzuki, and there's an exciting team in Montreal. But I'll bet they would have been even better if Heineman was playing in the lineup full time in Montreal.
I'm gonna go Homer. I like what Simon Holmstrom's been doing, at least on the offensive side, because he's not putting up a lot of points just yet, but I think his overall offensive game is really starting to come out. And if he can grasp Waz's defensive system, he's gonna be dangerous. I don't care what line they put him on. If he can learn the back checking a little bit better, if he can learn that defensive style that Wah wants him to play, with his shot, Gary, Holmstrom could be lethal on any line. I don't care where
Mhm.
you want to put him. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
I mean,
something that versatile in a while.
see, the thing that I won't say bothers me, but irks, it makes me confused, I guess, is that you say about Holmstrom playing the back checking in the defensive game, but when he's on the PK, he's a completely different person. Yes, he's scoring the goal. Yes, he gets in on the rush, on the out end rush, and gets involved in the shorthanded points. But to me, he plays so much better defensively on the PK than he does 5-on-5.
Right.
And that boggles my mind.
Right.
But of course, he started on the fourth line the first 4 games and wasn't that good. And then when Shabanov got hurt, they promoted him up, and you see an immediate difference.
Right.
So yeah, he's projecting in the right way, and that's going to make decisions tougher for the management staff when Shabanov comes back. And what do you do at
And that's a good
Holmstrom? And
problem.
yeah, exactly.
That's
That's a good
good
problem.
problem.
Yep,
Yep.
for
So,
sure.
folks, for tonight's show, if you want your question or comment up on the screen tonight, you have to start off with "Let's talk about." Then bring up the subject, and then Gary and I will go into it with you guys. So,
I know.
I'm going to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back here. Charles is getting a little more attention than he should tonight after that little Gary comment. But let's talk about Cameron Berg. Told you guys 3 years ago, 4 years ago about this kid. He's going to be your spark plug. He's now putting up numbers in the American League like he was supposed to. I kind of wishing he did it last year, but um, I like the kid. He's a -6, but he's like on that fourth, middle six line there. He's got to work on that system. It's the same thing with Homer. He's got to learn the defensive system. Putting up points. He's got the speed. He's got all that. What he needs to continue to work on is his two-way game. If he can put that all together, he could be an Islander. And for the ones who have reminded me, and they're correct on this, he is only on a Bridgeport contract. And my rebuttal to that is, so was Kyle McLean. Kyle McLean was on a Bridgeport deal for 2 years, and then he signed with the Islanders. Cameron Berg can still do the same thing. And again, we don't know what the Islanders are going to look like even after the summer's over. This into the season. We don't know who's going to be here, who's not going to be here, how many contracts we're going to have, so on and so forth. But if there's one bright spot for me in Bridgeport right now, it's definitely Cameron Berg. I've said this before. I will say it again. I still think he could be Casey Zizekas' replacement if he gets that two-way game down. He's just your energy spark plug with enough speed, and he's got some scoring to go along with it. So you're welcome with Cameron Berg. All right, let's see. Is there anything you want to? Is there anything you've seen here that you want to highlight here?
No, keep going. I mean, I'm fine. I just asking if the wife wanted to bring anything up, and
Okay.
she's chilling next to me. So
Tim, no, I agree with that. Real quick, Clutter wasn't an enforcer, but he defended everybody. Him and Martin, they defended everybody. Yeah, they didn't have to be an enforcer, but they definitely would bring that protection.
I got something we can talk about, actually.
Go ahead.
Although it was 0 for 6 last night, let's talk about the power play.
Let's talk about the power
Let's talk about the power play. I have been very much outspoken about last year's power play, and people know at the seats I was constantly screaming, "Move your feet, do something different," all that stuff. And of course, it's partially it's the influence of 48 on the unit, but despite the fact they were 0 for 6 last night against the Bruins, I like the changes that they've made. I think they finally have gotten it. They're finally getting it from their new power play coach, because there's constant movement. There's constant differences, I will say. It's not every time, that they make 2 passes and drop the puck to Barzal and he comes flying through. Their final, Matthew's been involved, Drouin's been involved. It's gone around. It's a lot less predictable than the power play has been in the last 3 previous administrations of the power play. Their numbers are still not to an acceptable level, but I will take an 0 for 6 power play that's working like that than a predictable 1 for 3.
Okay.
Any day. Because
that 0 for 6 is going to turn into 3 for 6 at some point.
Yeah, exactly. I think Korpisalo at some point stood on his head, but you get a goalie like that any game. So that's why I say, the goaltender was definitely a difference after 5 minutes in. So, so I'm not necessarily blaming the Islander power play. I'm just saying if they stay that way, there's going to be 3 power play goal games with this. Even the second unit looked really good too. I've been actually somewhat pleased at the second unit. I'm pleased that I think Anthony Duclair is finally showing everybody, even though the points numbers aren't showing it, but I believe his play is showing the type of guy that he is. And I know from his past experiences, he's a very streaky player. Points come in bunches. A lot of our guys, we talk about points come in bunches, but he's definitely one of those. Sure. If he gets on a streak, Katie barred the door.
He's who?
What'd
you say? What was that last part?
I said Katie barred the door. It's the old expression.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Good things will come.
Good. Yeah. No, and I agree with that. Michael, let's talk about something positive. Drouin at even strength. I will say this, boys and girls, and to Michael, I'll help with Michael here. I think Drouin just needs one good goal. Like he's right there from absolutely tearing it up. He's been in the right spot. The shot is good. They're just not going in yet. He's Gary. He's right there. And if he gets hot like Horvat, it's over. Oh my Lord!
Unfortunately, right now he's looking like the Montreal or Tampa Bay version of Drouin. I mean, he's been involved.
That's fine.
Got assists, but he was that close. When he went to Colorado and played with McKinnon, obviously that's one of the reasons why we got him. For the power play and everything else, things worked. But I still like his execution. I still like his speed. So, good things will happen. Got to be positive. Good things will happen.
Yeah. No, I think Drouin is close to a breakout. Richie, 3 points in 3 games now with an assist on Burke's goal tonight. Yes. And again, pat myself a little bit on the back there. Cal Ritchie's 2 goals, if I'm not mistaken, were both assisted by Alex Jeffries.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting for that line. Oh my God, Jeffries and Cal Ritchie on the same line? Yes, please.
Yeah.
When they're ready, put them up on the third line because Jeffries also plays power play and penalty kill. They're having them both do that now at this point.
That's great.
So it's all about the 200-foot game with both those players, folks.
And again, it's going to be eventually another tough decision.
Correct. Tommy, talk about a right-handed defenseman that they can get because we have none coming up in the system. You know what? I'm going to go. I've been saying this now for a while, Gary, and you know that. I think college free agency is going to have a whole new meaning for the NHL.
No question.
in another year or two. If Tommy's asking about that route, college free agents, right-handed defensemen, you can still pluck up and you can bring in. If you have a right-handed defenseman where you're saying, "Hey, you get to play with Matthew Schaefer,"
Yes, please.
yes,
Yes,
please,
please.
yes, please, yes, please. Okay, that's honestly, yeah, I think it could be. I'm hoping it's that easy, but look, the Islanders have done well with the KHL players that they've signed so far. Um, the draft will certainly have a bunch of right-handed defensemen, but in all honesty, in terms of players in the NHL right now, right-handed defensemen, folks, I'm not even going to lie to you. My DJing season just finished. I've barely watched a lot of these games, and the work schedule's been a little tough on me. I haven't really been able to do a lot of the work that I normally do to give you a player, but that's why we're just shooting, you know what, here tonight. By next week I'll be a little more focused with the research and everything else like that. But you know,
I can't comment because I'm on Claire's computer and I can't
fair enough. Yeah.
usually sign in as me, but I just want to give a message to Michael Moisa. I'm always
Yes.
right. You should know better.
Oh, okay. In reference to that, there we go. Okay,
Even
whatever.
Claire's laughing.
Yeah.
Because it's Mike.
Yeah, because it's Mike.
All right, let's talk about Envol is out for the year. They can use LTIR if needed with his contract, which is true. 4 years left on the contract. Do you think the Isles he is bought out after this year? I doubt any compliance buyouts are coming. It would be 1 million per for 8 years. Um,
I think there's going to be a buyout.
yeah,
I haven't said it as much, but I think there's going to.
yeah. I think we'll get more details as the season comes to a close, and definitely over the summer. But yeah, I don't know. It is
Sorry, I'm
is
just looking at
Patrick
things.
Waugh still going to be the coach at the end of this year?
Yeah, there's so
That's
many variables
that's the
involved.
other question, Brian. Will the Islanders still be playing good enough, or are they going to hit rock bottom under Patrick Waugh's system? Mark, when the show's over, go back about 10 minutes, 5 minutes from where we were. We just talked about Drouin. Who were we buying out? Pulock? Don't know. Don't know. But here's the other thing, though. The salary cap's going to go up.
What about 5 million?
Even if
Right?
you something like that.
Yeah.
104 to 110 million. It's supposed to go up exponentially over the next 3 or 4 years anyway. Even if you were to send Envol down, you're still saving yourself $1 million anyway. So, and you've got younger kids who can, if they come up, they can come in for pennies on the dollar against some of these other veterans. So, I don't think buying out any of the players is an issue yet, unless we're talking defense. So, we were joking about this on week one. We all had Matthew Schaefer. I'm sorry, Scott Mayfield bought out like 2 years ago. Now all of a sudden we're keeping Mayfield because he works so well with Matthew Schaefer. So, you know, it's hockey. It's hockey. Let's talk about Varley. Buying out Varley because that makes the most sense. I don't know.
What's he got left?
He's got 1 year left after
1 year.
this.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That make
But if he's injured, like never playing again, it would be wise to keep him and use that as, trade collateral for a team that needs to get to the floor. Granted, we keep hearing he's close, but okay, everyone's an optimistic here. He still has to go down to Bridgeport to shake off a lot of rust. And can he really play? Tommy, it brings up a good point. There is a contract there, but I don't know. It's close, but if you can, that really just depends on Varley. Personally, I don't know if he's really playing this year.
he was such a dependable, 1B, and right now, the start of Riddick's career as an Islander has been very well. And again, I really think it's going to be a very good test to see how he plays tomorrow against a strong Carolina team. But again, it's another decision that's making it harder and harder for the Islanders to make.
Sure.
And we've all been talking about, these kind of decisions and could they be coming down the pike? And now we're seeing reality. This is the thing that people were wanting, and, to get younger and get healthier. And now they've got the chance to do it.
All right. So I'm going to step on this landmine here. Let's talk about the goaltending. I wholeheartedly agree with Gary. It takes 20, 25 games for this whole team to finally bring it together. But there are some clear signs. And again, yes, I used to play goaltender. Yes, it's been a very long time. But there are just some things that even I notice, and I know Joe has talked about this before off air. There are just some things that are just too recognizable for us and be like, what's going on? Like, for example, we both feel he's in the crease a little too deep. He's not as aggressive. He's not in the corner of that trapezoid. He's not coming out as much. And we had talked about it last year, Gary, his glove side. Everybody's shooting at that glove side now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he hasn't made the adjustment yet. Pierre Greco is no longer the goalie coach. I get all that. David Riddick right now has been phenomenal in his 2 games. Do you start David Riddick a little more? I know he's going up against Carolina tomorrow.
Right. And you got a back-to-back.
Would you like to see David Riddick play more games than Sorokin? Or do you want to see Sorokin get through this? Do we call it a mental hurdle or do we call it a confidence hurdle? What would we, as fans, what would we call this? A confidence hurdle?
I think it's that. Maybe, so everybody will say you go, you go with the one that's playing well. If he has a good game tomorrow night against Carolina, I would say put him back in on Sunday against Columbus and see what happens. Just like any sport, you ride with the hot hand. And, granted, it's a small sample set. It's only 2 games, but even in preseason, he has not had a bad game. He's looked very well. I think he's a very simple goaltender in the point of he's not flashy. He does what he needs to do. And, right now it's a sign of stability. Right. Do I think that bringing his personal coach back with him, I say give that 10 games, and I think it'll it hopefully will help itself out. But again, it's early in the season. This is at least it's happening now. It's not happening in March going into April. Cross our fingers.
Right.
So, this will be a good opportunity for him to, get the kinks out. But I'm not worried. Even though what was the stat? They said first time somebody's given up more than 3 goals a game in the first 7 games since Billy Smith back in '85.
Right.
So, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Sorokin. I think he'll get it straightened out. But yeah, you could definitely. Again, I was never a goaltender, but I know that you've got to challenge. You got to challenge NHL shooters. You got to come out of the crease and get the angles taken care of. But yeah, he's sitting way too back. And if we can see it, then that's got to be a confident situation. He just doesn't trust himself.
Right. And Tommy's right on this one. Riddick has been playing deep in his net also, but Riddick is not as athletic as Sorokin is.
No.
Sorokin, for me, when I was watching him in the KHL, he came out further. Yes, he loves to stay in his net. Don't get me wrong. And his lateral movement, that's where he gets his lateral movement from. But his athleticism should allow him to be a little more aggressive. And again, hindsight is 2020 here. But when you look at those replays, the puck he's just missing the puck, but it's going in the net. If he comes out even a little bit, even a crazy Halak pad save, it's hitting his pad and it would fly off somewhere else. But it's, Riddick's game is very, very compact, which I do like. But Sorokin's athleticism, I don't know. So, any other questions? Well, let's talk about, this season so far. Let's talk about what you guys have seen, what you like, what you don't like, anything else here. We're almost into an hour here. Good conversation. Is there anything Claire would like to talk about?
I asked her. She's not.
I'm decompressing.
She's decompressing today.
Okay. I will also give props here. And again, I have not been able to see a lot of the games live, but I have been able to listen to quite a few of the games. So let's talk about Alan Furing doing play-by-play on the radio. Folks, if you haven't had the chance to listen, do it. Bailey on it. Bailey's a work in progress. I love the info he's coming in, but he's got to have a little more animation. I don't want to say animation to him. He's a little too analytical sounding for me, but I get where he's going with it, and I like the way Bailey is doing things. But Alan Furing has done a phenomenal job so far, and the games that he's been doing, man, they've been really, really good.
Yeah.
So if you don't get the chance to watch, definitely listen, because Alan's really doing a great job on that.
Yeah, and we both know Alan pretty well. Yeah, and I obviously enjoyed him doing the Bridgeport games, and I've heard a little bit in the car, like coming home from work or whatever, and yeah, he's came from the same system that Brendan came from, in Peoria, and working his way over. So yeah, they both are very, I think both very similar styled, but yeah, and again, I haven't heard much of Bailey because I really haven't heard much radio. I think it took Thomas Hickey about 20 games, 30 games before he got good.
Right.
And I think Bailey will be in the same situation. I think.
Oh, no doubt. No, believe me. I like Bailey doing it. Trust me.
Yeah,
I do like
and
Bailey
Clutter's
doing
done
it.
a very
He's got to
nice
refine
job,
everything though.
Yeah, Clutter's done a nice job too.
Yes.
He's
No,
there
I've
between the
like
benches.
yeah, I've liked Clutter doing that as well. All right, so Brian, let's talk about it. I like the higher energy level we are seeing this season. Agreed. Might be leading to a few errors, but also creating some nice opportunities, no doubt. And again, this is what Gary and I have been hoping for now around 25 games, 25 through 30, where those opportunities become regular. Um, the errors will be fewer. The players understand the system. They understand their responsibilities.
And again, you're not saying what we were saying last year and what a lot of pundits were saying, that this team was old and slow. This team is not slow anymore. I mean, we're not the Montreal Canadiens with a track meet, and we will have trouble getting into track meets with certain teams, but we're not, far behind
The
anymore.
one thing I would like to see, though, Gary, it doesn't have to be a Barry Trotz system when they have a 1 goal or 2 goal lead, but there needs to be more attention to detail or more of an emphasis when they do have a lead. They can still play up tempo,
Yeah, of
but
course you can.
but you know, I really want to see the Islanders hold a lead, shut a team down in that third period with a lead. We haven't seen that in a few years.
No, we haven't.
And it
It's
does,
like,
like I said, it doesn't have to be the boring Barry Trotz system that a lot of fans don't like, but it was effective.
yeah, it
When
did
when
its
when
job.
we had a 1-0 lead heading into the third period with a Barry Trotz system, we knew we were winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get somewhere closer to that.
Do you want to call it a killer instinct or whatever? Um, yeah, you don't want to sit back, but you don't want to take your foot off the gas either.
Right,
And I'm not saying put your foot totally on the floor, but keep the gas going.
right. And this is going to tie into everything that we're kind of talking about here for a moment. Let's talk about our penalty kill. Um, that's also a work in progress, but I'm also going to say this now. The NHL as a whole, for at least through the month of October, we haven't seen this kind of offense since like 96, 97, 98. Like it's been that long, folks. Like we are literally talking close to 30 years. Some younger Islander fans have never seen this kind of offense as a whole from the NHL. There's a lot of offense going on right now, including the Islanders. Okay. It's only 10 games in, and I didn't do last night's game, but funny stat, the Islanders are on pace for almost 300 goals.
Mhm.
Okay. Last night probably dropped them down a little bit into like the 280s or whatnot, but there's a lot of offense going on right now in the NHL. So, as far as the penalty killing goes, give it a little time. Let the Islanders go through the grind. Let them get used to this system, the grind of the NHL. This is why I'm not going up with like all of the major statistics yet on the penalty kill or the power play or the stuff that we normally do. We're not 20 games in. We're not 25 games in. We're not 30 games in yet. There's not a clear picture. I said this before. If you had Pittsburgh in seventh or eighth place this year, you're probably wrong. There's nothing going right with this season so far. The Florida Panthers are still in a playoff hunt after 10 games with all of the injuries that they've had. The amount of depth each team has, at least in the Eastern Conference that we're talking about here right now, is as full as it's been for almost 7 years. There's a lot of offense. There's a lot of offense. There's a lot of depth. And yes, are there a lot of mistakes on the Islanders so far? Some of them.
I think it's a little better. It looks better than last year.
Right.
Again, both problems with both sets of special teams is the plays were too stagnant. They weren't moving.
Right.
I think I think both assistant coaches have done a nice job to improve what they look like. And that could, make sure that other teams know that you're not going to push these guys over like you did in the past. But yeah, is there still, like you said, is there still work to be done? No question about it.
Right.
There's been some silly things again. Goals, they allowed that definitely, you'd want back. But yes, there's been improvement. I will say that. Not tremendous improvement, but it looks like it's going on the right path.
Right.
And you got to take those little wins, if you will, or take those little tidbits, and as my partner over here said, baby steps, and
Right. Right.
to go with
Let's
it.
talk about how many goals Paul Murray would have if he hit the net.
And no, that wasn't Steve.
Look, I think the same could be said for Drouin as well. They were just both close, guys. We're 10 games in. If this continues, okay, we will redo that. We will come back to that conversation.
And it's big coming up the next 2 or 3 weeks because we have 11 of 14 on the road too.
Right.
7-game road trip coming up, in 2 weeks. And, we will be at one of those games on the 7-game road trip in a couple of weeks. So we're looking forward to it. But,
Right.
yeah, Vegas, baby.
All right. So listen, Robin and Tommy were bringing up like the neutral zone traps and whatnot. And this kind of goes into what, I was saying before, there's enough offense going on that we haven't seen in almost 30 years. The only thing that stopped this amount of offense way back when was Lou Lamoriello's neutral zone trap. Do you really want to go back to the old man?
No.
Let's talk about it. No, you don't want to go back to the neutral zone trap. However, you do want something, and I agree. I especially agree with Robin on this one. Clogging up that neutral zone probably does help a little bit more. I think that's what they need to work on a little bit more efficiently, I should say. But again, we're also playing 2 rookies on defense right now who are literally just starting off. So there is work to be done, but at the same time, the kids can only grow so fast.
Exactly.
And that's including the kids on offense too. They can only grow up so fast. Let's talk about any trade rumors. There are none.
No.
I said this 2 weeks ago. The odds of JG Pageau actually being traded, even up until the trade deadline, is roughly 50-50. Okay. I know the JG Pageau to Vancouver rumor likes to spark a few things, but that's Vancouver being desperate at this point. Vancouver's in a lot of trouble. Cal Ritchie right now, yes, he's doing very well in Bridgeport, but JG Pageau, to his credit, has also been doing well for the Islanders, and he was helping out Shabanov find himself in the NHL. And if you're worried about Anders Lee getting traded, well, that's if the info is correct, guys, it's less than 50-50. At least as of this conversation. And I said this 2 weeks ago.
And you can't fault his play at all.
No,
he's rejuvenated.
No.
And by the way, just remember something, looking at the stats on Mr. Nelson, in 11 games, how many points has he got?
I haven't looked.
3.
Okay.
3. Maybe 4. I don't know if he got anything last night in Jersey, but before the Jersey game, he only had 3 points.
Okay.
So if you look, would you traded Lee or would you traded Nelson? I think we kept the better right now because
right.
Anders Lee does not look like a 35-year-old slow, dumpy player. He's playing possessed. He's playing extremely physical. And, there's been, they have, Paul, I don't know if you're aware of it, but at the home games, not only are they keeping who's on the ice, but they're keeping stats. They're showing all the full stats, courtesy of those chips on their jerseys. They're showing
Really?
speed. They're showing speed, top speed.
Okay.
And 2 games of the what few that we've seen at home, who's in the top 3? Anders Lee.
Okay.
22.5 miles an hour at one point.
Okay.
You don't expect Anders Lee to be on the top of the fastest skater list. So I say
Right.
very big kudos to him for
Right.
doing the
Absolutely.
work and getting himself ready. Oh, you mean the game, the one in the locker room?
Yeah.
She's talking about the helmet in the
No.
locker room.
Yeah. For those of you who want Pageau and Lee traded, right now,
No.
Christmas. I had said this before. The info I got is pretty good. Unless someone wants to be traded, I think that's the only way they're going to be getting off the island at this moment. And again, this also now boils down to Matthew Schaefer. What kind of locker room environment is going on right now that Matthew Schaefer can learn and develop from? He's going to learn from Pageau and Lee while they're all there. So I think Matthew Schaefer has definitely changed quite possibly the direction of what a lot of fans may want the Islanders to do. But again, we're 10 games in. We'll find out. Yes, big road trip in November, and then review. Wholeheartedly agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
See you in Vegas, Gary. Let's see. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Nope. Sorry, Nikki. Nope. Matthew Schaefer will say otherwise. Ah. Not sure the superstar we just tried to change as much as anything.
We just
We have a ton of
drafted.
really good.
The word drafted's got to be in there. I'm not sure the superstar we just drafted. So just so you know.
Oh, we just drafted as much as anything. We have a ton of really good players coming up from the prospect pool. Not making any room would be a sin. Well, look. Again, Matthew Darsh, believe it or not, is still from that Bill Torrey line. I explained that in the first episode. Matthew Darsh is a believer in winning in the American Hockey League. If you would, I said as a crazy idea, in season episode 1. But the crazy exciting part for me was to send Matthew Schaefer down next year with Nelson, Iserman, Finley, George. Send all those kids down to Bridgeport next season or Hamilton, wherever the hell they're playing, and let them run wild against the American Hockey League. Even Cal Ritchie, why not? Throw them all in there. Oh my God, the amount of fun that would be watching.
You got to remember too. You got to remember when Tampa was winning those cups a few years back, their Syracuse team was one of the top teams in the AHL. Florida winning their 2 cups in the last 2 years. Charlotte Checkers was one of the were in the finals, the Calder Cup finals last year.
Right.
So, and the Islanders during their 4 Stanley Cup years had a winning IHL team in the Indianapolis
Checkers.
Yeah, the Checkers. Yeah, right. The Checkers.
Yep.
So you got to, good teams not only are winning at the top level, but they're winning at the bottom levels. And that's where Matthew Darsh got most of his work, was building the Syracuse Crunch. So he knows what it takes to do that. And as we said, they're not coming out like gangbusters, but there is a definite better team sitting on the Connecticut Turnpike than much better team than we had last year. And it's a team with a purpose. And that's filling your pipeline. And we haven't been able to say that much, but it's definitely a much better improved system.
Sure.
And this is only a few months in to Matthew Darsh's career here, and there's already been a change.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so I know a lot of you want JG Pajot traded here on this chat, supposedly. So let's quickly talk about it. If, in all honesty, I don't know if I want a draft pick for JG Pajot.
No.
I would probably go along the lines of Brock Nelson. Give me a player, and he doesn't have to be a star player. Give me someone who can either build up the prospect pool, who may only be a year or two away from the NHL. I think if we have to go, we're not getting a first rounder for JG Pajot, and not in this draft.
No.
I think we'd be lucky if we get a second. We can get a prospect, right-handed D. Okay, maybe. I'll take a right-handed D with some upside. I'm okay with that. I don't know if I'd want a draft pick, though. And I understand the draft is very, very deep. Yes, I get all that. Yes, the prospects would all be full. But Cal Ritchie's going to be ready fairly soon. I would kind of want that the same way again, because you've got Matthew Schaefer here now. You kind of want a player kind of sort of soon to help out Matthew Schaefer at this point. Because if you help out Matthew Schaefer, you're going to help out Matthew Barzal, who then is going to be able to help everybody else. Do I plan on going to a Wilkes-Barre Sound Tigers game? Yeah, at some point. At some point. I haven't really looked at the schedule. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. The DJing season was unbelievable this year. Busy, much busier than I had anticipated. I haven't even looked at the schedule yet for the American Hockey League. Oh, let's talk about Siplikov. No, he's not a fourth liner. But I really did like I like the idea of Siplikov, of Cizikas and Heineman on a fourth line, Gary. That was intriguing until we found out Bo Horvat really likes Heineman on his line too.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's go this way. Instead of trading him for a D-man, why don't we go like a left winger for an actual left winger, a fourth line left winger? Let's create a fourth line. Let's create a fourth line for Cameron Berg. There we go. Bring in a little bit of spunk, bring in a little bit of like not the enforcer, but someone with a little bit of grit. Or do you think Siplikov still has a shot here with the Islanders?
Hard to say.
Okay.
Yeah, silence crickets.
First aren't worth nearly as much. Yeah, this draft might prove otherwise. If it's a 2027 first rounder, yeah. No. Like I said, if I can get some immediate help or soon to be immediate help, that would still be better than a first round pick in the lower rounds for me, because they're almost ready to go. And again, I think it's more of an emphasis of helping out Matthew Schaefer sooner sooner than later.
What is it with Pajot?
Man, I don't know.
To
JG
score.
replaced Casey eventually on the fourth line. What are you going to do with Casey?
I think Casey still has gas on the tank,
Yeah,
and he provides a role. And I think he is, Anders is a quiet guy in the locker room. I think Casey's a talker,
sure.
and you need a mixture of that in the locker room. And again, I don't want to see anything. I want to see Casey get 1,000 in an Islander uniform.
Okay.
Being what they screwed up with Bailey and
Bailey.
with Matt Martin, I want Casey to get 1,000.
What about Lee then?
Well, again, Lee's playing himself in.
Okay.
I've been very happy. If he came out the same way he came out last year, I'd be having a different thought. But he's not a 35-year-old anymore.
Okay.
He's playing 2019, 2020 Anders Lee, not 2025.
Okay.
Based on the age.
If you got to go, bud, just say the word.
No, I'm
and,
fine.
Okay,
I'm fine.
cool.
I'm fine.
Robin, someone has to replace Pajot. Will depend if anyone is ready in the minors or available in the trade. Honestly, Robin, I think Cal Ritchie's going to be that guy for now. And I think what they're going to do is that they're going to give Nelson at least a year in Bridgeport to see what he can do. And then you have Nelson and Cal Ritchie as your 2 and 3 centermen. At some point, you can move Horvat back with Barzal at whenever you want. You could do that with Palmieri's contract at the end of 2 years. There's a lot of options right now. But if Cal Ritchie can actually, he's starting to. When Cal Ritchie gets that full 200 game with enough speed, he could replace Pajot. How soon will that be? We'll find out. This is another good point. Let's see how tired some of these players are getting this system later on in the season. That's also true. That's a good point. That's also a good point. But again, we're 10 games in. But that's why we get to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't shy away from this. I still don't like the idea of Schaefer playing beyond game 10. Even Noah Dobson played 40 games his first year. Cale Makar did not play. I think he only played like 60 games in his first year. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. Do you want to keep riding Matthew Schaefer the way he is, or do you think the Islanders should pull the reins a little bit on what he's doing? Me personally, I think they should. At least in terms of ice time. But are we really? Is it really about the wins and losses? Is Matthew Schaefer really trying to save everyone's job at this point?
That's a tough one to answer.
I know.
Now, like I said, as I said earlier in the show, I said of the 9 games he's played, I'd have to rank last night as 9.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that he played badly.
No.
Should he be playing 26 minutes? Probably not. I would like that number to be down to maybe 21.
Fair.
But
he's earned that.
But he's earned it. He's
absolutely
earned it. So
he's earned it.
Obviously, the last 2 games with Marshall Warren only playing 12, 13, it means the other guys are needing to play more. But I I don't, and Tommy just said it, and I kind of agree, but I think you have to pick the situation where you'd want to sit out Matthew Schaefer. And right now, based on the small sample set, there's no reason why you should at this point. Again, let's look by game 30.
Sure.
If he looks like he's lost a step or two, yes. Find a game, a non-important game maybe, to take him out of the lineup and just give him a rest.
Put in Boquist.
Yeah, exactly.
Put in Boquist. That's what you re-signed him for.
And Robin, the answer is absolutely not. He is not playing the World Championships. There is no way on God's green earth that Darsh is going to let him go play that. No
And
way.
this is the agree to disagree. I would absolutely send him to the World Juniors.
I think if he didn't have the start he had, I might change my mind. I might be thinking different. Right
Fair
now,
enough.
he's an integral part. Whether you like it or not, whether you wanted it or not, he is a part. He is an important part.
Yeah.
And I would not take that away, because that's a month he's going to be gone. That's
Would you
10
give him
games.
the option? Would you at least give him the option? And then he says no. Or is there no option?
I believe the way he is, I think he'd say no right now.
Okay.
I really think in my heart of hearts, he would say no. Because you get and this is so far-fetched, but I mean, they're already talking, maybe he might play in the Olympics. But
No.
that's 4 years down the road for him. It's not now.
Please.
No, I know. That's 4 years. When he's 22 and made a mark, maybe. Kind of like a Kel McCarr, kind of thing.
Leo wants his rebuild. Leo's been chiming in. I've been reading all of his comments. He wants his rebuild. I can't see it, bud. I can't see it. There's already enough drafting from 23 now through, and it'll be a complete 23 through 26 right now. They are working on that. I don't think Darsh is going to go full blown. He's not selling everybody.
No.
If you're going to go into a rebuild, you got to get rid of Horvat. You got to get rid of Barzell. You got to get rid of Sorokin. You got to get rid of all of them. It's just not happening. Sorry.
No, I think you slowly retool, and I think this is the way you got to do it. You're not going to just sell the farm.
Right.
If we were in Kansas City, you might do that, but not here.
Right.
Regardless of who we are, it's New York. You're not gonna dump, and especially with all the things we've got, the building we've got and everything else, we're not doing that. Just face it, it's not going to happen.
No. All right, so let's talk about it. What are you looking into now, Mr. Emeritus? We got a road trip in November. Thanksgiving is roughly around where we really start critiquing the team. That'll be around your 25 game mark. What are you looking for? Let's talk about it over the next month.
Well, like I said, the road, that's the first of 2 7-game road trips, the Western
This might be a quick season.
Yeah. I mean, the western part of the North American continent has never been very nice to the blue and orange. And, you look at who they're going to be playing. Vegas has had a great start to the year.
Right.
My biggest surprise this year so far is Utah.
Yes.
Utah's been phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal start.
Good for them.
You got Colorado, who's typical Colorado. So this, and saying that earlier that we have 11 of the next 14 on the road, you come out of those 14 games with only 3 or 4 wins. That 20 game point is going to be like, it's not, we're going to be.
Hello, World Juniors.
What's that?
Hello, World Juniors.
Yeah, hello,
for
World
everybody.
Juniors.
For everybody. Go USA, Robin. Go USA, Robin.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the
And
Blue. I'm
Liam.
rooting for the Blue Jays, so can't root for the Dodgers.
No.
As a Met fan, can't root for the Dodgers.
No, he can't.
Sorry. But anyway, they just have to, if we come out of that road trip 500, 7 games, get 7 points. We lost 2 already, but it's just I'm just looking at the comments.
Yeah, I know.
We just have to play, play a much simpler, smarter game on the road. And
Sure.
that's, a testament to, the coaching staff,
Right.
you gotta, we saw what happened in Boston last night, 5 really bad minutes. They can't have those kind of.
That was a Lane Lambert loss.
Yeah, that was a Lane Lambert loss. And you
That was
can't
a
have
Lane
those kind
Lambert
of
loss.
losses against teams like Colorado and Utah and Vegas.
Sure.
You can't play that way. And they can't do that tomorrow night against Carolina, because Carolina is going to just tear you apart and eat your limbs. So, they've got to, tomorrow is a test to show how smart they are and how to play.
That includes the
solid
coaching,
run
though,
game.
too.
Sorry?
That includes the coaching. That includes coaching as well.
Yeah, no doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. Going back to the points we made earlier, I think that the penalty killing is improved. I think the power play has improved. They've got to keep that momentum going.
Right.
The good part of the Islanders over the last couple of years has been their 5-on-5 play. Right now, the 5-on-5 play has not been as good as we want it to be.
Right.
And I think that's going to be important. That's important when you're on the road. You've got to win the 5-on-5 game,
right,
in order to have a shot to win. And they're going to have to show that starting tomorrow night.
Right. Beautiful. What am I looking for over the Thanksgiving, up until Thanksgiving? Look, I didn't have this team in the playoffs.
Neither did I.
I don't have expectations right now. This is why I enjoy doing shows like this. Because it is just, we are talking about the team. It's not necessarily critiquing. But this is stuff that we would all talk about at a bar, at an Islanders get together, whatever it is. If they lose 5 of the next 7, they lose 5 of the next 7. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a higher draft pick this year. That's fine.
Yeah.
Is it a complete write-off? No. Do I want to see some growth? Yes. Especially from the younger players. And
and I
even
think-
with Sorokin, what's up?
No, I'm just saying, I think you got a team that, if they don't make the playoffs, but you see some, just reiterating your point, if you see a lot of improvement,
Right.
then
Growth.
you're not going to be 100% happy, but you're going to be looking forward to the progression.
Sure.
Like I said, we all said this was a transition year.
Right.
It's not, our goal, obviously a goal of every team is to make the playoffs and do whatever, but I will not be, if they give me an 80-point effort and they're working their tails off and the kids are improving and things are going on, then I'm looking forward to 26, 27.
Sure.
For a better team, we have the All-Star game next year. So it could be a lot of fun on Long Island next year.
As long as New York puts up the hotel, we'll be fine.
Yeah, good luck on that. I'm going to blow off, Paul.
All right, bud.
Keep
Everybody
it
say
safe,
goodbye
guys.
to Gary, Mr. Know-It-all.
No, Claire knows.
Why's
I don't know
laughing? Why's laughing?
That's only because it was Michael.
that. That's only because it's Michael. Yeah. Goodbye, y'all.
Yeah, see ya. Alrighty, boys and girls. Any more? Let's talk about it. Questions. It's real quick. We'll end up this show. Transition year is called a rebuild. No, 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 no. Nope. You've got a lot of players who probably could be traded. They're not getting traded. They're just not. Barzell's not getting traded. Horvat's not getting traded. Sorokin's not getting traded. Not a rebuild. I love you, Leo. Leo and I do this every week now. All right, boys and girls. Thanks for coming on. This has been fun. Yeah, don't set any expectations. The standings are crazy. The numbers are crazy. It's like I said, these numbers we haven't seen offensive numbers like this probably since like the late 90s. And the only thing stopping the offenses was that neutral zone trap. So if you really want the old man back, cringe. Okay. Ride the wave. And we're going to see where the Islanders are with this new offensive NHL, all the younger players and everything else. Yeah, no, he did. Sharkov switched agents, Sipilkov and Shabanov's agent. What that means, who knows? But he hasn't really been that impressive in the KHL either. Maybe it was a wake-up call. We'll find out. And that's also true. Having a lot of players other teams want is a luxury. That includes that includes our prospects too, no doubt. So no, it's not. Leo, their contracts are over. No. Leo, go watch your Blue Jays. Go watch your Blue Jays, Leo. So, Leo's laughing. So, all right, boys and girls, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. Get ready. November's going to be interesting to say the least. And please and thank you. Follow us on Isles Talk on X at Isles Talk. Please follow us and like us on Facebook. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Like this video on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Now that the DJing season is over, for me, I have a little more time. I'd like to make probably a few more vlogs on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed to that. You guys have been phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming on. The numbers, the participations have been going up. It has been great. And it's one of the reasons why Gary and I still do this. It's connecting with the fans. It's having these great conversations. And we can't wait to have it again next week. Shouldn't be an issue. We'll find out a date. And but as of right now, should be Wednesday. And I believe I'm going to be down in November for the St. Louis game. I should be down for that one. So if you guys want to get together, I forget the date, but I believe the Islanders will be playing the St. Louis Blues. I'm going to try to make my way down there for that game. So if you guys want to get together, let's do it. So again, thank you guys for coming on. Let's go Islanders, and enjoy the rest of your week.